My sister showed up to my wedding in a white beaded gown, screaming. She had every right to be there while 200 guests watched, so I kept walking to the altar. That was 2 years ago. She's in mandatory psychiatric treatment planning her wedding to an imaginary groom named Christopher. From the time I was little, my mom and dad always liked my sister better and treated her like she could do no wrong. They were so obvious about playing favorites that when I told them she took my stuff, they never believed me. But when she claimed I stole her bathroom tissue, I'd be punished right away. Even if there was undeniable proof, they'd still give her a lesser punishment and try to find a way to scold me in tandem. My birthday cake had to be a flavor she wanted, and my parents always denied knowing I didn't like that type of cake. Our family vacations were always to the places she wanted, even if it was an event that should be about me. My sister grew up spoiled and didn't like me. She just used me as a punching bag. Initially, she would ignore me, but then things worsened as we became teenagers. My parents loved to boast about their achievements, but never mentioned any issues. Whereas with me, they loved to bring out any flaws of mine constantly as teasing material. In high school, she had no friends, and I wasn't surprised. My parents had spoiled her, which made her too introverted to talk to anyone. While I was fairly popular, she found this unacceptable and lied to my parents that all of my friends were substance abusers, and I was banned from staying friends with everyone. What saved me from complete isolation was my extended family. Most of my family lived in the same hometown, and I got along with my cousins despite some age differences. At one gathering, they invited me over, and I told them how I was banned from leaving the house. When asked why, my kid self with no filter replied that it was because I wasn't allowed to have friends since my sister didn't have any. My parents found out quite quickly and had a huge argument with our extended family, and as expected, I was grounded for complaining. Eventually, my sister's situation worsened, so she changed schools. I guess the humiliation of extended family, knowing her social status was bad, and she demanded to be changed. My parents immediately obliged, even though it cost them more since the school was further away. My sister made friends at the new school. I thought this would make her ease up on me, but instead, it made this worse. Her friends would come over and bully me, and my parents called it light teasing. I never called friends over because my parents were awful hosts to them, or my sister would accuse them of taking stuff, and they'd believe it. I did become close to my cousins though, especially because my parents didn't dare to mess with them. I was slowly starting to believe that life was back at its peak, especially because I finally got a boyfriend. But little did I know that my sister had her ways of ruining this as well. I didn't want to bring him home at all, but when my parents found out, they insisted. We arrived at my doorstep, and since the moment he entered, my sister had been staring at him. At one point, we were separated, and he came to find me to tell me that my sister was flirting with him. He said that she came over with revealing clothing, batting her eyelashes badly, and started telling him how bad I was, and how good she was at SX. He told me how he didn't want to listen to more of it and came to find me. I told him that he should leave and that I was going to confront her about it. When I confronted her about it in front of my parents, my sister told them a different story, that my boyfriend had instead tried to flirt with her, but she naturally refused since she would never do that to me. I forgot how favored my sister was, and of course they sided with her. My boyfriend wasn't perfect, but I immediately believed him. No offense to her, but she had the same body as my parent, who were overweight. I knew for a fact that my boyfriend wouldn't try to cheat on my model body with my sisters. I argued back and forth with them, but my parents prohibited me from dating such a terrible boy. We tried keeping our relationship a secret but failed to do so because my boyfriend wanted to get touchy once in a while. I ended up dating a different guy, but history repeated itself, and the same story took place. I tried pointing out how this happened again, but they decided that meant I was incapable of making good choices, and kept picking bad boyfriends. My new boyfriend was traumatized from this experience, so he broke up with me. Thanks to my sister, I was named the high school SLAT, and failed to get into new relationships. The tables turned, and for once in her life, my sister brought her first boyfriend home. Since the first second that boy entered the house, he was flooded with stories about my sister. After 2 hours of boring stories about my sister, I could tell that my sister's boyfriend was excited to leave. As soon as he left, my parents aimed toward me and asked why I couldn't be like my sister and find someone like that. Their relationship lasted 3 days because that poor guy couldn't carry that much weight on his shoulders, both physically and metaphorically. Years passed and things remained the same. I was confident that this was the worst things could get, but little did I know that my parents and sisters had a worse in store for me. I was 25 when everything changed. My sister had just turned 27 and still lived at home, working part-time at a boutique while my parents paid for everything else. I'd moved out at 18, put myself through college with loans and 3 jobs, and landed a marketing position at a tech startup. My parents never acknowledged any of it. Every family dinner turned into updates about my sister's career in fashion retail, while my actual career got dismissed with comments about how marketing was just making things look pretty. Francis entered my life during a work conference. He was presenting on software integration, and I was there to learn about tech marketing trends. We grabbed coffee after his presentation, which turned into dinner, which turned into a 3-hour conversation about everything from childhood trauma to our favorite pizza toppings. He had this way of actually listening, not just waiting for his turn to talk. When I mentioned my family dynamics, he didn't try to fix it or minimize it. He just held my hand and said he was sorry I'd gone through that. 6 months into dating, Francis met my extended family first. My Aunt Beth hosted a barbecue, and I brought him along. My cousin Rachel immediately loved him, especially after he helped her 7-year-old son build a Lego spaceship for 2 hours without complaint. Aunt Beth pulled me aside while Francis was playing cornhole with my other cousins. She grabbed my shoulders and looked me straight in the eyes. "This one's different, Emma. Don't let your parents ruin this." I knew she was right. Francis came from a healthy family where siblings supported each other, and parents celebrated all their children's achievements equally. The first time I met his family, his mother hugged me and said she was so happy Francis had found someone who made him smile so much. His sister immediately started texting me funny memes and invited me to her book club. It was like stepping into an alternate universe where families actually functioned. For 2 years, I kept Francis away from my immediate family. We built our relationship on solid ground, away from their toxicity. He understood why I needed that separation, especially after I'd told him about the boyfriend incidents in high school. We moved in together after a year, found a cozy apartment downtown, and created our own little sanctuary. My parents didn't even know I'd moved in with someone. They still thought I lived alone in my studio apartment across town. down. The proposal happened on our 2-year anniversary. Francis had planned this elaborate rooftop dinner, but it started pouring rain. Instead of canceling, he grabbed my hand and we ran through the streets, laughing and getting soaked. We ended up in a 24-hour diner, dripping wet and grinning like idiots. He got down on one knee right there between the vinyl booths, with the fluorescent lights flickering overhead and an elderly couple cheering us on. It was perfect because it was us, imperfect and real and full of joy. I called Aunt Beth first. She screamed so loud that Francis could hear her from across the room. Rachel immediately started planning bachelorette party ideas and sending me wedding dress photos. For a week, I lived in this bubble of happiness, sharing the news with friends and Francis's family, everyone who actually cared about my joy. But I couldn't avoid telling my parents forever. They'd find out eventually, probably through some family grapevine, and that would lead to even more drama. So I planned it carefully. A Sunday dinner at their house, my usual monthly obligation. I'd tell them at the end of the meal, keep it brief, and leave before they could ruin it. I should have known better. The moment I walked in, my sister was wearing a new dress, spinning around to show it off while my parents cooed over how beautiful she looked. I sat through an hour of hearing about her promotion to assistant manager, which apparently deserved more celebration than any of my achievements ever had. My mother served my sister's favorite lasagna, as always. My father poured her wine first, as always. I pushed food around my plate and watched the clock. Finally, as my mother started clearing dishes, I stood up. My hands were shaking slightly as I twisted the engagement ring I'd kept turned around all evening. I have some news, I said. The words felt heavy in my mouth. My sister immediately rolled her eyes. What? Did you get another boring promotion at your computer job? I took a breath and turned my ring around, the diamond catching the dining room light. Francis proposed. We're getting married. The silence lasted maybe 3 seconds. Then my mother's face lit up in a way I'd never seen directed at me before. For one brief moment, I thought maybe this would be different. Maybe getting married, hitting this traditional milestone, would finally make them see me as worthy of celebration. Oh, how wonderful, my mother exclaimed. Then she turned to my sister. Madison, you'll be the maid of honor, of course. You've never been in a wedding party, and it would mean so much to you. The words hit me like a physical blow. Madison's face transformed into that familiar smirk, the one she'd worn every time she'd successfully stolen something from me. She was already nodding, already planning, already taking over. Of course I will. Oh, Emma, we have so much planning to do. I know exactly what kind of dress you should wear. And the colors? I'm thinking blush and bashful. Those would look amazing on me. I already have a maid of honor, I said quietly. Rachel. My father's fork clattered against his plate. Your cousin? But Madison is your sister. Family comes first, Emma. You know that. Rachel is family, I said, my voice stronger now. And she's been there for me in ways Madison never has. Madison's face crumpled into fake tears, a skill she'd perfected over the years. I can't believe you'd exclude me from your wedding. Your own sister. Mom, tell her. My mother immediately wrapped her arms around Madison. Emma, how could you be so cruel? Your sister loves you. She deserves to be part of your special day. She can be a bridesmaid, I offered, knowing even as I said it that it wouldn't be enough. A bridesmaid? My father's voice rose. You'd relegate your own sister to bridesmaid status while elevating a cousin? What will people think? I don't care what people think, I said, grabbing my purse. This is my wedding, my choice. My mother's next words stopped me at the doorway. Well, if you're going to be selfish about this, don't expect us to contribute financially. We were prepared to help, but not if you're going to exclude Madison from her rightful place. I turned back to look at them. Madison had stopped fake crying and was watching me with calculating eyes. She knew exactly what she was doing. They all did. This was just another version of the birthday cake flavor, the vacation destinations, the bedroom decorations. Everything in my life had to center around Madison's wants. I don't want your money, I said. Francis and I will pay for our own wedding. I left before they could respond, but I heard Madison's voice carrying through the door. I just wanted to support my baby sister on her big day. The drive home was a blur. I called Francis from the car and he talked me through the anger and hurt until I could breathe normally again. By the time I got home, he had wine poured and my favorite takeout ordered. He held me while I cried, not from sadness but from frustration at my own naivety. Why had I expected anything different? Over the next few days, Madison began her campaign. Her social media exploded with posts about my baby sister's wedding and how excited she was to be basically planning everything. Friends from high school started messaging me, asking if Madison was my wedding planner. She'd even created a Pinterest board titled Emma's Dream Wedding, filled with everything she wanted, none of which matched my style at all. I blocked her on all platforms, but the damage was spreading. My mother called daily, leaving voicemails about how I was breaking Madison's heart. My father sent texts about family loyalty and disappointment. I stopped answering unknown numbers after the third flying monkey relative called to lecture me about including my sister. Francis suggested we elope. For a moment, I considered it. We could fly to Hawaii, get married on a beach with just us and an officiant. No drama, no family politics, no Madison trying to make everything about her. But then I thought about Aunt Beth and Rachel, about Francis's family who'd welcomed me so warmly, about our friends who genuinely wanted to celebrate with us. Why should I let Madison steal this too? So we started planning. I hired a wedding planner named Catherine who came highly recommended, and more importantly, signed an ironclad contract stating she would only take direction from Francis and me. I password protected all our vendor accounts after explicitly explaining the situation. Most of them had dealt with difficult family members before, and understood immediately. Rachel threw herself into maid of honor duties with enthusiasm. She organized a wedding binder, scheduled dress shopping appointments, and started scouting venues with me. Francis's sister joined us for dress shopping, and for the first time, I experienced what it felt like to have supportive women around me who genuinely wanted me to find my perfect dress. We found it at the Third Boutique, an elegant A-line with delicate lace details and a train that made me feel like a princess. As I stood on the pedestal, surrounded by people who actually loved me, I started crying. Not